Pam and Mary. Oh, sorry.
You're now live.
Thank you. Can we have we've had an approval to have the agenda circulated, and we had Mary and Pam first, making that motion and seconding it. Okay. The minutes.
There was no public response for participation. So
Okay.
Yes, we can go straight to the minutes.
All right. Didn't even notice that. Okay. Can we make a motion to accept the minutes as circulated, even though they weren't all in the package, but
They're all online now. I had them rescanned.
yeah, I saw that.
I'll also move, Kimberly.
Okay, Kimberly is. Somebody want to second that? Mary? Okay, good. Moving on. Business arising report, Jennifer?
Okay. So, okay, we've got another issue with the door into the Stainer branch. But I have finally gotten in touch with the mechanism company, and they're going to send someone out. He believes that there's a problem with the striker inside the accessibility button. And so he's identified what equipment and what materials he needs the technician to bring with him. So I haven't heard on a date yet, but at least we're a lot closer to figuring out what is wrong with it, and it should be repaired soon. We can set it so that it's on permanent hold, so the doors open when we're on open hour days or open hour times. So we're working diligently to get this resolved, but it's on its way. You do have the job descriptions here. I know I gave them to you at the last board meeting, but they're here. You've had over a month to look at, or you've had a month to look at them. My recommendation would be that, I know I need to adjust the logos a bit, but other than that, my recommendation would be that the board approve them. We had to get them revised fairly quickly in the beginning of the summer because the township human resource manager needed them for comparisons for pay equity and also for a market value assessment that is going to happen for the whole township staff. So that's why you didn't get to approve them before they went there, because there was a very short turnaround. But I was supposed to get them done for you anyway this year, so here they are.
Okay.
I just have something to raise from the meeting that I went to, the public board. And one of the things that came up was that if you are going to make a vaccination requirement for people that get hired in the future, that in the job descriptions, you needed to include that under, I guess, maybe health and safety, that is a requirement of applying for the job. So there was some discussion around that you can't just tell somebody that it is a requirement. It has to be right in the job description. So Jennifer, you might want to take a look at that and find out.
Well, can we approve them as they are now? And then I will get in touch with the human resource officer and discuss this with them, because she's certainly
Sure.
not putting that into any of hers. And I'd like you make a good argument, but let's make sure that they're all consistent in the way that we approach the health and safety, because what we're taking as health and safety for this is coming straight from what's coming out of the Joint Health and Safety Committee.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning it because I think
that's good. I hadn't even thought of that.
It has come up since these were made job descriptions too. So it's a more recent development. And so I agree that maybe that all the job descriptions have to include that if it's going to be part of the hiring procedure.
Should we then therefore delay a month, Jennifer, until you've had a chance to look into that?
Well, we can do that. I don't know what her response will be. I can, if we do bring it back to December, do I have to keep printing them off, or can you?
No.
Okay. So I will get in touch with Tammy Gill, the Township Human Resources Manager, and have this discussion. Doug, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to weigh in briefly. I've heard this discussion as well, both here and at the county. And the term is that the Occupational Health and Safety Act is the tool and the implement that governs all of us as employees. And, you know, when we hire people, the Occupational Health and Safety Act is part of employment in Ontario. So one of the parts of this is that when you are an employee of a company in Ontario, you have to follow all of Ontario laws. And so the business of vaccination or a requirement of the job falls into that. So it is defendable as a board and as an employer. But as Mary points out, it's not specified in our specific job descriptions, but it is part of being an employer when you're in Ontario that you have to follow the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So it can be argued both ways that it is already in there. But you're right, it's probably good, best practice to go ahead and add it to the actual job description. So it is in there, but it's not specified. So you're right, Mary.
Well, it wasn't me, Doug. It was a person who was from, I think, Thorold, and he brought it up because he's in human relations, and he said that it isn't sufficient. And I guess this is going to court over something right now. And so he said, to be on the safe side, put it in there, and then you can't have an argument about it.
You're absolutely right. And there are some court cases that are ongoing. And so, as with everything with this great pandemic, we will obviously see rule changes and adjustments made every 20 minutes. So we have to all be flexible to accept them. But, in the meantime, the word that I got from discussions at the county and also around here when I talked to our CAO about it is that the Occupational Health and Safety Act in Ontario is the implement that drives all of these questions about, you as an employee remaining safe, as well as you providing safe service to the people who are your clients and customers. So sounds good. I think it's a good, prudent thing for you, Jennifer, to do, is to get that included in your job descriptions, and then we can approve it, Madam Chair, at the next possible meeting. And I'm sure that shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like a good idea, I think.
Right. So our letter to the chair of the Regional Services Review at the county level was received by the chair, and there was a meeting on the 9th, which all the board chairs of the libraries were invited to. They weren't allowed to participate for some strange reason, but they were invited. And the comeuppance of the meeting, Diane, basically, I'm not sure who else might have watched it other than you and myself, was that they approved the status quo modified version. So they are not going to be recommending to county council a county system, which is good, because I think for all of the libraries in the county system would not have been advantageous or even fiscally responsible. But so that's the way that is moving forward.
Yeah.
Very
Also,
happy about
they
it.
were asking for more of the meat and potatoes of their data before they actually made that motion.
Yeah, but I think that's the way it's going to be.
That's where it was leaning. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very much leaning that way.
Yeah, they were.
We've talked about having a grand opening next year for the Stainer branch, and to ensure that we're not conflicting with other major events, we've chosen Saturday, May 14th.
Okay.
And I don't know where she's gone. She's not on my screen, but Michelle is been tasked with working on this. Terry Vachon, the general manager for Parks, Culture and Recreation, has offered me his staff to work with Michelle. They have, of course, lots of training in major public events, so this should be good. And we're just we're working right now on the basis that everything will be doable by May 14th. If things don't turn that way, we will modify the event. There will be speeches, Your Worship and Madam Board Chair, just so you can start working on that. And we're expecting it to be held in the library proper, but much of it will be held in the community hall.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that we didn't even think about when we were doing the budget was the funding for that. We had been promised that part of the overall building cost package would include money for the opening. So the township treasurer has drawn $2,500 out of the building reserve to go towards the opening,
Okay.
which is less than I think was initially anticipated, but we can do a lot for $2,500.
No kidding.
There were requests at the last meeting to change the website to include branch phone numbers. And I can't even remember where we were including them, but the changes have been made. So it'll be a lot easier to access us than it was under the previous machine. And if we're moving on to the CEO's report.
Yep.
Okay. So I am making a formal request for vacation for the last week of December and the first week of January. Now, some of that's stat days. And I normally take some time in there anyways, but I've met with my doctor over the last week and he wants me to take some time off. So I don't end up on medical leave. Are you going outside? Oh, no. My retirement job will be a doorman at a hotel somewhere. Programs. Okay. We're going to have another book sale December 11th, which is a Saturday. We had one on Halloween. And we really have been doing all our programming virtually because we don't want to get into POVs. However, for the book sales, because they're in person, we are requiring POV proof, which we did at the last book sale as well at the Stainer branch. And we will be having a special program for the kids. I think we're making bird feeders just before Christmas. We're really hoping that in the new year, things will improve and we'll be able to begin some in-person programming.
Okay.
We will see what happens. I did attend at least part of the council meeting on November 8th, because that was when we were the board chair's letter regarding regional services came to council and it was approved for information. Budget presentation for us is scheduled on November 29th. And I believe, Your Worship, the meeting starts at noon.
Yeah, that's correct. We've scheduled to start at noon. And I think you're the second department to present that day. So
Okay.
perhaps 12:30, something like that.
So I would certainly recommend that you all, if you are able, watch that. I have already submitted the presentation, PowerPoint presentation to the clerk and the township treasurer, so they know what we're looking at and it will be uploaded.
Okay.
In terms of our strategic plan review, and I'm sorry to say that when you look at the strategic plan review, most of it says we haven't done anything on it, but that's really because some of these things we can't do while we're struggling to get through the pandemic. So our first goal is transition to the new Stainer branch, which we've in essence completed. We do have signage that we need to deal with in 2023, which was not part of the building budget when we created that. And I know that we want to ensure that our branding is part of that signage. So that's something we're looking at into the new year when there's some money for that. Accessibility at this point in time, I don't have anything really to report on that. There's a number of items there, but we can't do most of those things when we're dealing with the pandemic. Organizational review and update. You've got the job descriptions. We'll look at them again next month. I will talk with the township HR manager about that. One of the things we're supposed to do under this goal is set up a plan to review policies. And I think that is a doable thing for 2022.
2022 or
Well,
three?
just maybe to start in 2022 at the end, because we've got some other things to take care of. But this isn't, a lot of it, there's two sides to reviewing the policies. Some of them are very old. I would like it if they all look the same.
Mhm.
So when we do a policy now, it has a certain format and a feel, but some of our policies go back to 1994. So just in appearance, I think it would be a great idea to update them, but we also need to relook at what's in the policy. And I think the updating of the actual documents is something that you can leave in my hands, but I think either the board as a whole or strike a committee in 2023 should actually sit down and go through each of the policies in terms of, are there components or pieces of the policy that need to be modified. And I'm not necessarily, we've gotten rid of fines. Well, that's great, but that means we have to go back and adjust the policy, or there's some other things that we want to adjust through this. So I think right now we need to focus on continuing to move through the pandemic. But yes, coming up in 2023, that would be something that I think the board needs to approach. I could certainly advise you on that, but you are the governance body and they are your policies. So I really think it should be more than just me saying you should do this, that, and the other thing. But as I say, I think we've got some time before we need to fall into that. Goal 4 is space development and modernization. And really, when we look at making the best use of space, and when we were initially thinking about this, we were not thinking about social distancing in terms of making good use of space. So I think social distancing to an extent, even when the pandemic is totally gone, will always be there to some extent. I don't think anybody is going to start packing in the way we used to. But some of the things that we were looking at doing are not doable when we're under the restrictions we're currently experiencing. Yeah. So that needs to be put on hold. And the Creemore branch addition, we were supposed to be collecting data on that, and we certainly could do that. But I think it makes more sense, again, to wait until 2023, because I think we've now pushed the Creemore branch addition out to 2025. And I think you're going to want to be looking at figures and statistics that are closer to when you want to do something, rather than coming up with something now and having that time gap. Things are going to change in that period. It just doesn't make sense to me to be working on gathering all that and then having to redo it right before we're looking at an expansion. Greening the library, well, unless we start growing mold on the walls, they're probably all as green as they're going to get at this time. We have been sending staff for training. It's all been pretty much virtual at this point. But I would like to remind you that the 2022 OLA Super Conference is coming up the end of January, beginning of February, and it's going to be virtual again this year. So that means, we put money in the budget. We should be able to send more people. For staff, that means Michelle and I usually attend the whole thing. But when we can do it virtually, and I don't have to worry about transportation or meals or hotel costs, it means that I can send other staff. We've got the money for that. It also means more board members can attend. So I don't expect you to make a commitment at this meeting, but certainly watch what's coming out of the Ontario Library Association in the next month regarding the conference, and see whether you'd like to attend all or part of it. It's a great experience. Michelle, you're not presenting this year, are you?
Not yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Normally, as recognition for the hard work of our staff, the board provides a gift card to staff, usually in the amount of $10, and I'm recommending that you do that again this year. Michelle and I will facilitate the purchase and distribution to staff, but I need your say so to go ahead and begin that process, and I'd like to get them out to them. Well, our December meeting is what, December 20th?
21st.
21st, which is pretty close to Christmas. So it might be nice if we got them out in the early part of December to them. Could, Madam Chair, could we have a motion to approve that, since it's financial?
I'll make that motion, Kimberly.
Do you want to second it? All in favor?
Yay. Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
While
and
you're
that's
speaking to staff,
it.
can I ask a question, Jennifer?
Yes.
Also, we would of course normally have a bit of a holiday party with staff and volunteers. And at that event, there would be any long service recognition awards. Jennifer, do you have any of those for this year?
Well, I'm at my 30th, so.
I've heard that. I just wanted to share that with the board. I did hear that about you, Jen, so well done. But I'm just looking to know if you have any plans for that, because I know we did that with some of the staff here last year.
Yes, and
public works staff come to the building, et cetera. So I wasn't sure what you wanted to do, Jen.
I think we should do what we did last year, Your Worship. It
Sure.
made a lot of sense. Partly because, if you're dealing with staff in the Stainer area, that's great. But, we've got them in New Lowell and Creemore too. So it makes.
I've been more than happy to travel. I mean, I'm
Well,
fully vaccinated and I'm more than happy to travel. So
the other aspect is everybody remember that over 50% of the library staff are part-time and many of them
for sure.
are working at other jobs. So if we can, the way we did it last year was great because they could be, at their other job or we've got a number of people who don't live in Clearview, but work in Clearview, and that's true for all the other departments. But if they have to rush off in an hour to go to another position, then that really made a lot of sense for them. I mean, a Saturday evening function is fantastic, but doing it on Zoom, you might as well do it when it's doable for them. And I think we did it in groups last time so that, we had a few.
So I just want to point out that Michelle actually came over to do a presentation. I was more than happy to host Michelle here for her recognition as well. So I just wanted to share that with you. Anytime.
Okay, and I will get in touch with payroll to determine who's coming up other than myself, of course, who I knew was coming up. And I'll let the board know the dates that's going on, and certainly Your Worship, you'll be involved in that. Were there any other questions regarding the CEO's report?
I guess not.
Okay. Right. I'm just trying to think what I can bring. We finally have Wi-Fi access numbers coming to us from the county, which is great, but they're somehow derived differently than they had been in the past. So they're a lot lower in number. This isn't just for Clearview, that's for every library that's getting these statistics across the county. So but still, we had over 2,000 for our programming in October, which is pretty good. And I see Bob has joined the meeting.
Oh, good.
Michelle, can you tell us approximately how much we made at the October 31st book sale, please?
Sure, we made $186.10.
Ooh, somebody was generous. That's fantastic. And when we have book sales, it's not just to make a ton of money, which you can tell that amount of money is not that high, but it also increases public awareness of the library, without us having to overly advertise for the event. And it does something else, which has just gone out of my head, but it's a good, it's good marketing.
Publicity, if I may say, boss, as well. The people that came aren't normally library patrons. So we had a lot of people come in and see the library for the first time and be very impressed. And I can certainly say Stainer reads, okay? We do boxes of books. We also took in donations for this event. So it was great to see a lot of inflow, outflow, and a lot of action. So
yes,
a really good feng shui about the library that day.
So the other thing that I was going to mention would, hopefully it doesn't go out of my head again. We're also constantly weeding. I know we have a brand new library in Stainer and it looks like a lot of space, but the shelves are much lower, the aisles are much wider. That was all for accessibility and it's a good thing, but it meant that we really did not have any more shelving space than we did in the previous building. In fact, we had less, which is okay. So we're constantly weeding the collection to take out what we don't need in there anymore, what isn't being used and what's outdated. And people are, rather than us just, recycling it, we're selling it on to someone else who can make use of it. So that's another good reason to have a book sale. It's not just about money. Our statistics were down a bit from the previous month. However, I would draw your attention to the e-newspapers and magazines, which are now up to 124 circulations. So Press Reader is starting to pick up in usage. And I would, again, recommend, we've put up signage, as Bob has indicated, that we should have near our physical magazines and newspapers, and that's helped generate some of this, I'm sure. But certainly go in and check them out yourself and recommend them to anyone you know. They've got a library card. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Our electronic resources are up. So we know that people are going in and using our databases to search for things. They're not just looking for books. And our membership went up substantially in October. I don't think it was all October 31st book sale, Michelle, but certainly we've got a lot more people coming in from Clearview than we'd had before. We're finally reporting finances because we're now back collecting fees. So we've got printing and fax back online, lost cards, and a book replacement, which is pretty much a wash, because then we have to pay the library that charged us for the lost book if it's an interlibrary loan. Social media figures, I think, are fairly good. We didn't have too many Instagram posts, Pam, but I have relinquished my control over Instagram because I never seem to get around to it. I try to keep up the Sunday funnies on the Facebook, but now staff are posting a lot more on Instagram. So we should see an increase in the numbers there. And that's all I have, Madam Chair, on
Okay.
that. And then I'm just.
And we've decided to defer the job description vote until next month, until we get something in there about COVID.
And I'll talk to Tammy about that. I think she was on our call both September and October. I should have had her on here for the November meeting.
Well, this will give her a chance to look into it as well.
Yeah.
That's okay.
In terms of correspondence, you've got the letter that went to the regional government review chair at the county level. I've been in contact with both of the local newspapers regarding the letter and its appearance at the council meeting. So there is an article in the Stainer Sun online regarding this. And I've circulated the article to the other CEOs in the county. So they're expecting to get questioned about it as well.
Good.
For financial reports, you've got the bank accounts for both September and October. As promised, I now have Michelle going into the bank and getting the opening and closing bank account information so that we're up to date for the meeting. And in the September one, you can see the $10,000 donation we got from Sunrise Homes under the Stainer Library Building Project account. And in the October, in the October bank accounts report, you will see a colossal jump in the Clearview Public Libraries account for that month. Well, it won't be there long because we have to pay the $25,803 out to the township. The province will not give a municipality the money. They insist that all boards have their own bank account and they e-transfer the money into their bank account. Because the township does our banking, we then give it over to the township because it is part of our revenue stream that helps us operate. But the reason, my understanding that the province does this is to ensure that a municipality doesn't just take the money and run, that it actually goes towards the services that the library provides.
I just had one question, Jennifer. In the October building project account, the opening balance, I thought was 111. That's what it closed in. Instead of 101, it should have been 111, the opening balance. Is that
Yeah,
right?
sorry, I missed a one.
Yeah. No, that's what we finished off with last month, the month
Yes,
before. So,
yeah. I'll be glad when I'm typing all the time
Bob?
in my office and I can see the screen.
Yeah, Bob?
Similar problem with the CPL account. The closing balance and opening balances don't jive.
Didn't agree. Yeah, I know. It wasn't
Yeah,
as
and I
dramatic.
found that too, and that's got something to do with the difference when you walk in the door and they give you, they'll give you the number for the first day that they're open. Whereas the month may not end on a day. Anyway, we'll have to watch that in the future. But when Michelle, the numbers that are in that one were straight from what Michelle got from the bank. But again, I do think I recall that it wasn't October 1st. It was a few days after that, the day, so we're making money every day. And that's one of the ongoing problems with the bank, because try as the township has to get them to send me the bank statements to our new address, they've adjusted everything else that they send us except the bank accounts. And I know the poor deputy treasurer has gotten in touch with them at least 6 times in less than a year. And they promised that they would adjust it each time, and it's not happened. So when you see the October figures, they are based on what Michelle has obtained by going into the bank and asking for the opening and closing statement. But I'll have the deputy treasurer get back in touch with them as a point of order, because, you know, they are our bank accounts. We should be getting the numbers. And I'm pretty sure that the township gets the numbers anyway, so I might be able to get them out of Treasury Department without having to necessarily go through the TD Bank. But that is why there's a bit of a discrepancy there.
Okay.
That wasn't me typing wrong.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I just checked as well. Monday, October 4th. Is it just a question of a couple of dollars, Bob?
It wasn't that
About
many.
$25.
Yeah.
Okay, interest from the 31st to the 4th. But okay, Jennifer's got it under control. But,
don't-
yeah.
I mean, the closing for the previous month in the previous report was based on the actual received bank statement. And then the information you gave me was not exactly the same. So I can only assume it's the few days that have made a difference. Potatoes, yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair, that's all I've got for reports.
Okay. Does anyone have any new business to present? Mary, did you want to talk about your meeting?
I'm not going to talk about it today because I'm going to type up a report for everybody. There was quite a bit there. So what I thought I'd do is I just got the PowerPoint 2 days ago from the whole meeting. There was considerable amount of discussion. We went the full 2 hours, and I think some of it is quite pertinent to us. So I'll put it all together, send it to Jennifer, and she can send it out with the agenda package, and you guys can look it over. And then if there's any questions or things we should talk about, we can talk about it briefly. Okay.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Does
Just so I get the minutes right, Mary, can you tell me what the title of the meeting?
was that the trustee meeting?
Yeah. What are the trustee council meetings called now? They're called something different.
Ontario Library Service Board.
Okay.
What I was, yeah. And it was
Okay.
on November 10th, 2021 from 4 till 6.
Okay, that's great. That's all I need to know.
Okay, good. Bob, did you have something you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, first, I'd like to apologize for arriving so late at the meeting today. I was at the dentist and the appointment ran over, so one of those things. And then I got home and realized my computer wasn't turned on, so I had to wait for it to boot up as well. So anyway, this week there was a budget workshop that council ran, and I was watching that. And during the was it Parks and Recreation presentation. It was announced that they intend to hold a outdoor and cottage show at the arena in Stayner on May the 13th, 14th. So that's the date we planned for our official opening. So we'll probably have to change that date if they solidify their date. It's still tentative, but they plan to be open for that show at both arenas in Clearview. So
Michelle, I thought did you not speak to Parks and Rec? I know you had talked to them about the event. Did
Yes,
you not?
and I actually booked or asked Jessica this morning about availability after we talked and didn't hear anything about that. So that's weird.
Mayor Measures, did you have something to contribute here?
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Bob, for bringing it up. I also noted that date, and I asked John Ferguson here about it. He felt that I don't know this for sure, but he felt that that the cottage show may actually be held at Creemore, which would be at the Creemore Arena and Community Center area. Given the properties that are available there and the parking lots, might be an opportunity to host it there. So I'm not sure if it would actually conflict with your event, although it's always great in Clearview to have two great events happening on the same time. So anyway, we'll just confirm that up for sure, Robert, and Jennifer, find out if the 14th is the date.
the message I heard from Terry yesterday was that they were trying to get both arenas involved, but if they're only going to do it one, so. The other
And I
thing that,
actually I spoke to Terry this morning as well with that date. So we'll just see what happens.
Okay, can you follow up with Terry on that then?
Sure, yeah, first thing in the morning.
the other thing that came out of that presentation, still from Parks and Rec, was that their budget is pretty aggressive this year. There's a lot of things that they have to take care of. And one of the things that they had in their budget, of course, is the completion of the front of the arena library entrance and landscaping. And it was just a suggestion from one of the counselors that it be deferred for another year. So just so that we keep that in mind, but it would be unfortunate certainly if that happened.
Yeah.
The programming that we would like to do for our children's program outside, we couldn't do this year. And if it's not in place next year, we may not, depending on what the COVID situation is, be able to run any programming outside either. So anyway, we'll see what develops, but just sort of keep in mind that there is something happening there, or could be something happening there that would delay the completion of our landscaping.
Well, I was going to say that's good to know, but it's not good to know, is it?
I don't know what to make of it, honestly.
Even if it's deferred, Bob, I think some things need to be done because, my staff would like to be able to come in at the side entrance, not obviously in the winter, but the rest of the year, because that's where the alarm box is, instead of running across the library trying to turn it off before, it blows your ears off. It's much better to be able to come in there. And frankly, it's a health and safety issue to my mind. I mean, they have addressed the fact that you can actually exit through that side door and it's covered by health and safety, but to be able to walk up there on a regular basis, if you've been by there recently, we have a small lake forming.
Yeah.
So there would have, even if it was deferred, there would have to be some work, to my mind, done there to, well, for one thing, to make it look like the project is finished, and the second thing, to ensure that it's safe. I mean, Michelle, I think you can vouch for, we've seen kids running through there, even if they're not supposed to. You still have to think about safety.
Yeah, you would need to have somebody drown there.
I agree that
it's not deep enough for them to drown, Michelle.
You can
They
drown
were
a couple.
actually playing boats there the other day.
Well, that makes sense, but Yeah.
I think that the sort of the minimum that should be done, if it is going to be deferred, is to get the grader in and level that whole area out so that it's not a jumble of construction detritus. But I think probably at the same time, if it is got to be deferred, a temporary sidewalk could probably be built up to the side door.
And at any rate, the board council has not approved their budget.
Oh, no, this is the first workshop.
Yeah,
And, you know, it was just an idea that was thrown up for consideration. So, but at least the seed has been planted in council's ear. And it may be a way for rec department to pick and choose from things which they may not be able to do everything with this year.
well,
Mayor Measures, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. Bob, you're right. Thank you for bringing it up. I want to point out that obviously we did have tenders released and the quotes were exceeding the budget and exceeding what we honestly felt was something that we could pay for. So that's why it's sitting as it is. So it's regrettable, but it's also a fiscal responsibility we have to make sure we do spend taxpayers' dollars correctly and wisely, et cetera. And so it's we may have to sort of rethink how we do this project to make it work. Jennifer's point about health and safety, I would suggest, Jennifer, as the CEO, you send off an email to our CAO and make sure that you bring forward any concerns about health and safety for the employees and or citizens who are using that space. So make sure that that's looked after. But you know, we simply, Bob, can't accept these type of tenders coming in at $500,000 to do a project like that. It's crazy money. So
I'm certainly, I appreciate that. And I wasn't thinking of this from the point of view of, you know, time for council to step up and get the job done. What I wanted to make sure was that we as a board understood that there was a possible deferral and that some action has to be taken to get that area cleaned up. It is just really rough out there right now, and no real access, no proper safe access to that side door. Even if it was only used for an exit, there could be some issues of people in an emergency trying to get out and not really paying attention to what they were doing.
okay, so I will email the CAO and I will copy Terry. And to both their credit, I mean, initially, you know, the tenders were received not that long ago and they were, you know, you expect them, maybe they'll be a little higher than you budgeted, but they were considerably higher. So I understand why nothing's been done on it yet. But yeah, we just need health and safety to be a factor in whatever happens.
Right. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to bring some new business forward? No, doesn't look like it.
All right.
Okay, then our next meeting is December 21st. My goodness. Okay, virtually again. Can we have a motion to adjourn, please?
I asked one question. Who's bringing treats to the Christmas meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not volunteering
We
now?
all are.
Yeah. Okay, can we adjourn? Somebody want to make a motion?
to adjourn.
Okay, Mayor Measures is motioning and Mary seconded, I think. I don't think we need to.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good meeting.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good stuff. Bye-bye.
Take care, all.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.